And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. Once again, it's your host, Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. And AJ, you are the lone bum. We are the lone bums in here. Usually it's a threesome, but it's just you and me today. And we are here to talk about De'Aaron Fox. We got a shiny new Christmas toy, and we were able to play with our new toy yesterday.
Oh my goodness, Rob, so many things happened while we were away.
Yes.
First and foremost, let's give a shout out to our homeboy James, who just welcomed in his new baby, healthy baby boy. We are so excited for Wyatt and the family. That is why we are a threesome today, or twosome, not a threesome, excuse me. So shout out to James. Congratulations. Hope to see you soon, but we understand because babies, I hear, are tough.
Absolutely. Yes. We are super excited for that development with their family, and that just to have a healthy, happy baby. That's what you need. That's what you want. And to be brutally honest, it couldn't happen to better people. Shout out to James. But yeah.
But why are we here? We're here to talk about De'Aaron Fox. So
yeah.
Therefore, we are opening up some champagne. We're winning the ship sometime in the next 5 years. It's going to happen. I am pumped. I cannot wait to see this duo. We got a little taste last night, Rob, and
yeah. I mean,
our team looks completely different now.
Dude, and we were saying in the group chat, the pace looks so different. It looks like we are ready to absolutely attack, and it looks like we're going to attack in an aggressive way. We were 29th in the league in left-handed attacks, basically attacks coming from the left side. De'Aaron Fox, left-handed. I feel like that's going to change immediately and open up a side of the floor that we really weren't even using. And I know it's going to take some time to kind of acclimate to his style of play and to get him used to all the plays and everything. But, man, last night looked really good. That was a great step in the first direction.
I mean, let's talk about the trade, first of all. Senor Fleece. We coined the name for a reason. Senor Fleece decided to put on his happy hat, his trade hat, and he absolutely dominated that trade. Everyone's talking about Luka, Anthony Davis, all these other trades, but every time I hear someone talk about the Spurs trade, they're like, how the hell did they do it? Because honestly, like, there's no reason we should have gotten De'Aaron Fox for what we gave up. I mean, we gave up pennies on the dollar, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Goodness.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's smart GM movement. And what you do is you bring in a third team that wants to absorb some bullshit contracts, that they want to absorb the Zach Collins contract. They want to absorb the Kevin Huerter contract because they're trying to get worse. They're trying to tank. And that's why the third team, that 3-team deal, looks so attractive. And you see GMs like Nico Harrison not looking at a third team and really getting fleeced himself. So it's really just doing your due diligence as a GM to look for that potential third team to make your deal even sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, shout out to the guys that got traded, Zach Collins, Trey Jones, City Sissoko. I mean, those guys are they were solid players for the most part. We were growing ill of Zach Collins as of late, and he found himself on the end of the bench after his injury. And we gave up his contract. We gave up Trey Jones, backup point guard, and then we gave up City, who's been back and forth from the G League all season. So, and then like a couple of picks that really aren't going to turn into much, I would say. I mean, there's really not anything special about them, to be honest with you. So I'm so to the moon about that trade, and I'm so glad that I was heading to your house whenever it happened, because we got to have a nice little deep dive conversation about what it meant for our squad. And man, hats off to Senor Fleece, dude.
Absolutely. Such a great move. And yeah, and it feels like we didn't have to give up that much. You're talking about Trey Jones, and we have a bevy of really good young guards blossoming in San Antonio, so it's not like Trey Jones is really needed. And it's not to say that he's not a good player. He's going to be a decent point guard for somebody else, but it really feels like we were able to minimize everything by bringing in that third team. Shout out to Brian Wright for making a great move. And De'Aaron Fox looks like he's fitting in sooner rather than later. 24 points, 13 assists on pretty good efficiency when you don't look at his three-point shooting. I mean, everything looked like it was clicking. He was finding people in rhythm. Those left-handed snap passes of his are fantastic. I honestly, yeah, they're
Oh
so
my God.
quick. They're so quick.
He's quick.
Yeah.
He's insanely fast. I didn't realize how fast he was. He is lightning fast. And what I love about it is it looks like our younger guys, like your Sohans, your Vassels, your Castles, they seem to have like this safety net all of a sudden, where if the shot clock's going down, they can give the ball to Fox. He can create his own shot, and we can get a bucket. We're not having that panic and like spazziness that we used to have. Now, granted, second quarter, third quarter were a little rough, but you expect that from a streaky shooting team like the Hawks. So I'm not too worried about that. I think defense wise, eventually we'll get there, but offensively, I mean, he looked tired. He looked like he was sick. And this game goes to show how much we needed a second superstar. Like how much we needed someone to take that load off of Wemby. Because no matter what, we're going to have to rely on Wemby, but he's going to get tired like we saw last night. He's going to have bursts where he's not going to be making shots. This is where that trade, I mean, we got up 101 shots yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. I mean, I don't know. I need to go back into the history books and find it, but when's the last time we shot 100 shots?
Dude, I literally have no idea. The pace we were playing at was ridiculous. We had 72 first half points, the most first half points all season. The first game De'Aaron Fox plays with us. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. But whenever I look at the game in its totality, the guy who we were looking to give the ball to right at the end of the game, whenever it was a 1-point game, it was De'Aaron Fox. It was tied, just literally seconds left. And we were wanting him to make a play going to the basket. And even though he missed that layup and Wemby got that dunk, it was still the opportunity that Fox was creating. The good result came from what he was doing. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that. He's going to be creating.
Especially with these games coming up, we don't have super tough games. Some of the games we have are teams that made trades as well, and they lost like a few options on their team. So we'll see kind of how they respond, but also kind of goes to show you how the NBA is nowadays too. We have a guy like Fox who can just kind of get plugged and play. There's really no positions per se. Everyone kind of understands where their role is. And honestly, last night almost felt like an open pickup game because like they all they had was a shoot around. They didn't have a practice. So, and one thing I also love too, I don't know if you got to see this, but every time De'Aaron Fox went to the bench, he sat next to Mitch Johnson. So I absolutely love that part that he was like, all right, we got to get this thing going.
Right. Oh, yeah. There was a sense of urgency, and you could feel like he was wanting to get involved sooner rather than later because he feels like there could be a playoff push. And that's what everyone in San Antonio, everyone within the Spurs organization, that's what they're feeling. They're feeling like this is a team that's, maybe they're missing one key piece to really unlock things, but really this team is pretty much ready to go. All we need is experience and time to gel together, and that's about it.
The best part is, I mean, it unloads a lot of burden from Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, those older guys, because now you have De'Aaron Fox. We can play Chris Paul with De'Aaron Fox. That's not a problem. The problem we were having was CP3 was in those third quarter slumps, in those fourth quarters late in games, or played the whole fourth quarter. We can't have a guy his age play that many minutes. So I'm totally cool with the starting lineup being the CP3, De'Aaron Fox, and then having CP3, De'Aaron Fox at the end of the game, and CP3 just kind of in there sparingly, because we do not need him playing more than 25 minutes a game if we want to make that playoff push. And I think the whole dynamic of our rotation changed with De'Aaron Fox now, and I'm so happy right now. I can't get the smile on my face. I'm looking at everyone talking about us now, and like I said, our next few games, all winnable games. It wouldn't surprise me if we come back here in the next week or two and we're at 500 and we're making that really big playoff push.
Yeah, I mean, Fox is the kind of player that you add him to your lineup when you simultaneously didn't take away any of your key pieces. Yeah, you're immediately gonna get a lot better. And I think right now, yeah, we're on a trajectory to where if we rattle off a few wins, we're absolutely going to be 7th, 8th in the West. If we're looking at our team at the end of February, absolutely. And I think it was really, really promising that there was that 13 assists. I knew that De'Aaron Fox was going to score points. We know he's going to create his own shot, but the 13 dimes, he was immediately understanding where our players wanted their shots and finding Devin Vassell in rhythm, finding Harrison Barnes slashing backdoor. Of course, we know he knows how to play with Harrison Barnes,
of course,
but still, there was a really, really good just knowing where people needed to be, and that was honestly the most promising thing, because it was like that usually takes a month or two, and I was already seeing those elements right away.
Oh, and then also like what we've talked about all season, Devin Vassell, great player, takes the toughest shots in the league. Last night, he took 18 and got a lot of really good open looks. Like, great shots, and that was because of De'Aaron Fox. So now I'm excited to have Devin Vassell on the team. I'm excited to have Jeremy Sohan on the team, and I can't wait to see when this team actually gels here in the next few days or few weeks. And I mean, hopefully it turns into something, and De'Aaron Fox wants to stay. I really want him to sign an extension, and he stays, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a nice little honey hole, and we send Chris Paul off into the sunset, and then all of a sudden we just regroup because we had those picks. I mean, man, the fact that we didn't have to get rid of that Atlanta Hawks pick is insane to me.
Oh
I mean,
God.
and they look like they're tanking for whatever reason. I have no idea. I don't know if they know that they don't have their first pick, because like it does not make any sense on what they're doing right now.
No, it really doesn't. They got rid of Bogdanovich and they sent him to the Clippers. They got rid of DeAndre Hunter, sent him to the Cavs, which, oh my goodness. If we're starting to dive into some other trade stuff and we're talking Cavs, oh my goodness, that's the exact kind of player they needed. They needed some wing depth. I mean, they really sent out a lot of assets to go get Hunter. They sent LeVert, Niang, 3 second-round picks and 2 first-round pick swaps, all for DeAndre Hunter. But he's having a great season. He's averaging about 19 and 4 on.
He gave us problems last night.
Right, he gave us a lot of problems last night. He's been putting up some big games recently and averaging about 40% from beyond the arc. So, dude, you add a guy like that to the number 1 team in the East, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's challenging Boston. That's a hey, we're coming for your head kind of move.
Right. And they maybe they overpaid, maybe they didn't, but they put it out all on the line and said, dude, this is our year. We're making a push. And I think that's the exact kind of player you needed to go get. You have a really great backcourt, you have a really great front court, supplement that with a solid wing player, boom, they did it.
Yep. And I'm so happy. It seems like there's a new rejuvenation in San Antonio. People who were, kind of growing tired of the Spurs losing, that kind of jumped off the bandwagon, are now getting back on, and they're like, look what we're doing. Now I'm excited. And then, we're still not done. I think here in the offseason, we might be able to move a couple players depending on how the rest of the season goes, or we just are able to sign free agents at this point. When has San Antonio ever become a free agent destination? The fact that De'Aaron Fox was like, I want to go play with Wemby, that's going to be our selling point from here until we don't have Wemby in a Spurs uniform anymore. And it is, we have Wemby, they do not. Period.
Right. I mean, I think we have to start looking at Wembanyama at him like a guy like LeBron or like Shaq or like Tim Duncan, like a guy like you just see him and it's like, oh wow, I just can't help but just see the greatness that's around him, and it's just I want to play with that person. I just why would you not want to associate yourself with that level of greatness? And I think that there's so many people that just see it even at this early stage in Wembanyama's career. And so it's clear that with De'Aaron Fox making that decision to come to San Antonio, yeah, why wouldn't we be a trade, like a free agency destination, especially when we have assets in the future that are going to be great. Like, like we were just talking earlier, the Hawks are literally tanking, and
we might mess around and get Cooper Flag.
Right. I mean, they got rid of Bogdanovich and Hunter, and they do not look like a solid team right now with Jalen Johnson hurt. So I feel like, damn, they are punting right now. Looks like they're fucking punting on third down. It looks like.
Yeah, dude. I don't understand it. I think there's a lot of chaos going on during this time, and I think a lot of GMs are trying to like save their job or, kind of rock the boat a little bit. And I'm just glad that we have a very competent GM and a very smart organization, and we know how to build around superstars. There's a lot of superstars in the NBA. There's very few organizations that know how to build a foundation and build around. And this just goes to show you how we're able to do that. And I just can't wait to see the game 2, game 3, game 4. And hopefully we're talking about De'Aaron Fox and Wemby having a combined total of like 90 points one day. I don't think that's very out of the question at this point.
No, absolutely not. Not the way that offense can potentially gel in the future. It's just a matter of time. Like it's like De'Aaron Fox said it himself. Like they were literally having to swap some of the plays to accommodate him being left-handed. So they were having to like invert the plays and like relearn them. And so it's like that just takes time. It's like you can't just step in first practice. All right, we got it figured out. It's like that's just from like somebody who's played basketball. Dude, it takes a long time to like actually get the timing right on those plays, even if you know where you need to be.
Sure. And I mean just but the NBA is so like spread open now that you don't need a whole lot of time. Like, especially with a player like De'Aaron Fox who needs the ball in his hand, if he just knows where everyone's at, he can get the ball to them. If he knows where Victor's going to be, then he can get the ball to him. And I mean, I'm so pumped. I'm to the moon. We got the All-Star game coming up. Steph Castle looks like he might win the dunk contest, which would blow my mind. That dunk he had, both of them. Even the wide open windmill, like holy hell,
bro! Yeah, you're right. He's absolute cinema. If he's on a fast break, he's gonna do a windmill. He's gonna throw it off the backboard. He's gonna do something crazy. But also, if you're under the basket and you don't have yourself put together, you're gonna be on a poster and you're gonna be on Steph Castle's next basketball card. That's where you're gonna be. And I'm excited to see what he's gonna pull out in the dunk contest. First spur in the dunk contest since the fucking 80s. So I'm just excited we have someone that wants to go out there and show some style and show some verticality, baby.
Yeah, I mean he's showcasing it, and I love the fact we were on ESPN yesterday. I love that because you saw a very exciting, a very energetic, a very fun team to watch in the San Antonio Spurs, and I don't think anyone's ever said that in quite some time. So now you have a Wembanyama who looks like a potential top 10 when his career's all said and done. You have De'Aaron Fox who looks lightning fast. Devin Vassell's making shots. We have Castle dunking on people. You still got names like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. I mean, this team just looks so much more energetic. And I mean, you saw the way Victor, his face and kind of those interviews and how excited he is. So let's get it. Let's make that run. Once we get to the playoffs, anything can happen. It's all about matchups at the end of the day. It's all about matchups. Anything can happen. We have a superstar in Wemby that makes a lot of those 7-game series Really interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And then when you pair him with a guy who's former clutch player of the year, a guy that you can really trust in those late game situations,
And we saw it
that's
last night.
ideal. Yeah.
And we saw it in the first game. The
Yep.
first game, he did all the things that we wanted him to do. And we just got to worry about his finger. I don't know exactly what happened there, but
Yeah, I definitely wanted to bring that up. It didn't look like it was horrible, but De'Aaron Fox, his finger is definitely hurt and it's on his shooting hand, which is definitely concerning. I don't know if it's an injury where he can just kind of play through it through the season and then get surgery in the off season, kind of get it taken care of, and then it's not a problem anymore.
yeah.
Or if it's something that we're just gonna kind of have to live with and see how that develops. But I do think that's very, very interesting. He was looking at his hand multiple times throughout the game, and it wasn't just after a 3-point celebration.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was like if he like his hands like actually hurt or he's just not used to playing with the tape on his ring and pinky finger. I couldn't tell for sure because he was dribbling the ball fine, and whenever he had the ball and he was shooting, he was playing well. It wasn't like it was like losing the ball or anything. So I wonder if it was just him adjusting or him trying to get used to it, or I don't know, maybe they didn't tape it correctly. Who knows? But we definitely need to monitor that here in the future. But regardless, I don't think it's going to stop him. If it didn't stop him last night, it's not going to stop him now.
Yeah, oh, I agree. It didn't seem to affect his game at all, not from a shooting perspective, not from like a distribution perspective. Yeah, like you said, his ability to dribble, none of that really seemed to be an issue. So, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, let's keep wheeling him out there and play as many minutes as we can, get him acclimated to Spurs life, baby. We have De'Aaron Fox, all-star point guard, baby.
Dude, De'Aaron Fox cutting to the basket, kicking it out to Mamu 3. I'm here for it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's all good things in San Antonio. Like
This is
I
disgusting,
literally
by the way.
well, I appreciate your honesty. Like, yeah, if you're gonna drink something, I wouldn't expect you just to be like gassing it up if it was bullshit.
I don't even know where I got that bottle from.
That's funny. But yeah,
Dude,
like we're excited about our shiny new Christmas toy that we've been playing with, but there's a lot of other teams.
There's so many things. The chaos of the trade deadline, dude. Like I don't know if I have just short-term memory or I'm caught up in the moment. I don't remember a trade deadline being this chaotic. I mean, everybody got traded. I think I saw a graphic and I counted 18 guys, like role player and above guys got traded. I mean, that's insane.
That's too much, dude. Can we give some of these reporters and journalists a little bit of break today? It was literally bam, 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 bam. I was like, we can't even get fully coherent reports out of these people because they're just happening so quickly. I was like, we don't even know who's getting sent for some of these players. These deals are happening so quickly. Like there's just misinformation.
Oh yeah, just like ours. We're sitting there on Sunday night trying to like, oh, we're getting De'Aaron Fox. Well, let's see the details. Where are the details? Refresh. And it wasn't until like 15, 20 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, we kept Castle, we kept Keldon, we kept Devin, we kept Sohan. And you're like, oh my God. So yeah, dude, it's pretty nuts that I mean, we'll get to that in a minute, but just all the craziness, man, just everyone got somebody kind of thing. And I think they're still coming out with different reports that didn't get picked up because of all the other stuff going on.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of little bits of information that will leak, but one of the big ones I think that we need to kind of address sooner rather than later is the Jimmy Butler saga is now over. Like the long-awaited Jimmy Butler out of Miami, and now he's a Warrior. When you're looking at that Warriors team, do you feel like Jimmy Butler's the answer?
No. I think he's kind of just the same player as like Buddy Hield. Like obviously he's much more talented and he can do a little bit more, but I mean, just the way that they play, I don't know how this is going to work, and it's not a long-term fix for the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors are all like over 35 years old, and they need to figure out what they want to do in the future. I don't think that was a monumental trade as everyone thinks that it is. I think it's okay. I think it's fine. I think Jimmy's going to be fine, but he's going to have to play in the West, and that's something he hasn't done. So we'll see if he's able to really compete in the West and how everyone's going to be able to come together. And hopefully Draymond doesn't punch him in the face. I think that's kind of the big thing for me is that I can see them getting at it either in the locker room or in front of center stage on a Sunday afternoon. So I don't know, man. It didn't do anything for me outside of KD wasn't involved.
Right. And that's funny that you bring up KD. That was like one of my biggest sort of critiques about this trade was they wanted Kevin Durant. That was their preferred guy. They wanted a reunion with KD in Golden State. And then KD was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want that situation again. Even though it was 2 championships a few years ago, I'm good on that. And so to me, this seemed like Golden State kind of just saying, all right, the bar's about to close.
Yeah.
Who can we take home? And it was like Jimmy Butler was standing over in the corner of the bar. They were like, all right, Jimmy, you're coming home with us. And so
And they're like, last call. And you're like, oh shit.
Really, and so yeah, that's literally what it felt like. And so to me, it didn't feel like a move in solidarity. I don't see how it fits because they need players to create some more space for that offense. He's not really a great 3-point shooter. And to me, and to your credit, you brought it up. I think he and Draymond are going to be like oil and water. I think they're going to either just fight right away or they're going to miraculously come together and be some crazy tag team duo and just fuck people up out there. But honestly, I think I see the former happening rather than the latter.
Absolutely. And I just, I feel bad for Steph Curry. And you know what happens when you're at the bar late night and you try and take someone home, the lights come on, you're like, oh, that's not a good idea. I think they're going to get the lights turned on them sooner than later. And I know he signed the extension, so more power to him. He's there for at least another 2 years, but it didn't do much for me. And it really, I like Kyle Anderson too. So for me, Kyle Anderson would have been a better fit, I think, still being in the Warriors uniform. So I don't know, man. I think it's fine. I guess it's fine if you want to make a move just to make a move, but you added 2 years to a guy that's already 35 years old, so he'll be 37, 38 by the time this is all said and done. If he even stays that long, he's left a trail of bodies in his wake. So he's not in Miami.
Right.
He's not in Miami.
That was his whole thing. He's like, I wanted to be out of Miami. And pretty much get me out as sooner rather than later. And he's not there anymore. He got his wish.
Now, I will say, to Jimmy Butler's credit, he has a wine room that is insane. I don't know if you've seen this video, but it's a wine room that I've never seen before. The contents in that wine room are absolutely bonkers.
I saw it on that Netflix starting 5.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
You walked in and it was like he had Magnum bottles of wine that like you would never even think had Magnum bottles. So he's now in San Francisco. Low key, this might be a great move for Jimmy Butler because then he can just take his happy ass up to Napa, grab some nice wine real quick, go back down to San Francisco and chill out with the boys. So maybe he did it on purpose, but I just, for basketball purposes, don't care. It's
right. Fun. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that really, it's not really doing what a lot of people are saying it's going to do. There's a lot of people that were like, oh, this move is going to extend Steph Curry's career, him playing with another all-star level player. I'm like, I don't really view it like that. I mean,
they lost some good defense too, in Kyle Anderson and Andrew Wiggins. Those guys can play D. Yep. Jimmy Butler can play defense when he wants to, I guess. But that was also when Jimmy Butler was 30 years old, 28 years old. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot to remain to be seen. But for me, Nah, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's Golden State's answer, but yeah, that's definitely the end of the Jimmy Butler saga. I'm glad that shit is over because he was bitching for what seemed like forever. But there's so many other trades that happened. We had Kyle Kuzma go to Milwaukee. Like, does this trade? I mean, first of all, Kyle Kuzma's having a shit season, so I don't really view this as a great move for Milwaukee. He's down in points per game. His overall efficiency is down. Literally field goal, 3-point, and free throw, all of it's down, and it's not down just a little bit. He's literally down 17% on his free throws from last year. So I'm viewing it like he's not an asset I would want to go after, and especially when you're talking about Chris Middleton. I know his health hasn't been amazing, but Chris Middleton has been a guy that's been there for fucking 13 years. You got
a championship with him.
right. I mean, you can't just shuck him out for a guy that's just playing like dog shit. I mean, what are we doing here, Bucks?
Yeah, well, I don't know what they're thinking. I think that's such a weird move, and it seems like someone got pissed off at somebody at some point with Chris Middleton, and I'm whenever I saw that trade come through, my mouth was like, huh? You know, like Home Improvement Tim Allen, like, huh? I had no idea like this was even a consideration. And for Kyle Kuzma, I mean, his stats are down, but his attitude and his confidence is skyrocketed, right? And I don't know how that's even possible, but I don't think him in a Bucks uniform is going to change much. I think he's still going to struggle. I still think he's going to have a tough time kind of fitting into that system, because now you have Kyle Kuzma next to Dame Lillard and Giannis. He's going to get mad one day and throw a hissy fit in the wing because he's not getting the ball, and I wouldn't give him the ball. I don't know how they're going to make that work, and I feel bad for Doc Rivers because he's going to find himself again without a job because his office fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't see how he fits into this offense. He's a guy that really is a volume type shooter, and the volume is not going to be there for him. So unless he's willing to take a lesser role and really focus on efficiency and spacing the floor, and I mean, he's really not going to be around there long term. And dude, I'm still shocked they sent Chris Middleton away. Like, it seemed like he and Giannis had such a great relationship. I mean, fuck, Chris Middleton was the best man at his wedding. Like, what are we talking about here?
Dude, I have no idea other than cap stuff. I mean, that's my only guess is like, you know, I think Middleton is still owed like 31 and Kuzma's making 23. So like that, it might be the only reason. But even then, like, you're already paying him. So
Right.
I don't know. I'm not a huge Kyle Kuzma fan. Period. I'm just not. And Chris Middleton for me, it's just he's like Harrison Barnes, just a professional. You know what you're going to get. He's going to come in, do work. He's going to be your veteran on the team. And to ship him off to the Wizards, that's cold. That's
Right.
cold.
Yeah, you mean you might as well be in the G League at that point. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but also, you know, one thing we kind of got lost in Central, kind of talking about the Wizards. City, our boy City, he got shipped twice in a matter of what, 12 hours, give or take. And then I just saw that they released him, or the Wizards waived him. So poor guy, man. Like, I hope there's somewhere we can go to, you know, hopefully he can come back to the Spurs and play on our team and the G League or something. But poor guy, man. I've always liked him. You know, he always came in and he has the tools. He just needs the experience. And I thought Washington was going to be a great place for him to get the experience with Koulibaly, Frenchman as well. But I guess they want nothing to do with him.
Yeah, I mean clearly it's an organization that's not making good decisions. So even if City Sissoko was somebody that they felt like was a good idea to develop, they may not even do that just because
they don't know how to
they're
develop.
the Wizards.
Yeah, they don't know how to develop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
And
Wizards. But at the same time, I think City Sissoko, if he's not in the NBA or he's not in the G League, he will have a successful career overseas, balling out for
yeah,
some big
hit,
European
hit,
club. I know it.
him and Lonnie Walker are gonna have like just the best games together. Um,
Oh yeah, he'll be on Real Madrid or Panathinaikos or somebody making a couple mil a year, or maybe playing in Paris. Who
yeah, who
knows?
knows? But I mean, and then from him to Dennis Schroeder, like another guy who got moved. I saw it earlier today. He is the only player to be on 3 different teams in less than 12 hours. Like, or was
Wow,
it 3 teams or 4 teams? Whatever, however many teams he's got traded. I lost count. That's how many times he's got moved this trade deadline. I mean, just it's madness, and it's absolute madness. I've never seen a deadline like this. It was, you would think that all your buddies are playing 2K and everyone's just making trades in your season. Like that's how crazy it
bro,
was.
bro. And honestly, like the fact that I mean, I'd hate to bring this up, but with you were talking about Dennis Schroeder and getting traded so much, and his comments earlier in the week about like the NBA trade deadline being modern day slavery, and it's like, dude, for him to get traded as many times as he did, that almost just seems like it's like karma just kind of coming back to bite him after a kind of an idiotic comment like that. But
I don't even
I
know
don't
where he
know.
ended up. Did he end up on the Jazz or something? I have no idea where he ended up.
He got traded so many fucking times over the past like 24 hours. I don't know where he even is right now. I don't know if he knows where he is right now.
He's like, how did I end up at Butler University?
I think he's just gonna wait until a team sends him a check, and then he's like, "Oh wait, okay, I guess I should go to Utah." I don't know where the fuck he is.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, what other trades? I mean, the Hawks. We kind of touched on that earlier. Who knows what they're doing?
Right.
Clippers got better. I think Clippers got pretty good actually.
Yeah.
It's just they're left, right, and center. The Bucks also got Kevin Porter. We've talked. We haven't really talked about that on air, but we have our feelings about Kevin Porter.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, I kind of want to talk about the Lakers because not only did they get Luka, I mean obviously that's the big deal, but Mark Williams was a great get, especially when you look at the fact that Anthony Davis is out the door. They're hurting for good front court players. You bring in a 23-year-old center who is averaging 16 and 10 on pretty good efficiency. He's shooting about 60% from the field. And this is a guy that is nowhere near done developing as a rim protector and as a scorer. So I think that they have a guy, a 23-year-old big, to develop right next to Luka, who's still only 25 years old. I think they have a couple of really good pieces that are still young and that they can develop around. I mean, the Lakers seem to have a really good trade deadline. I hate to admit it.
yeah, the only thing about Mark Williams though is his effort. That was in question with the Hornets. It was a question all year. He's had spurts where he's just looks disinterested, and if they can figure out a way to hone in on him and get the most potential out of him, because maybe he just needs to go to Nobu a couple of times in LA. Maybe he just needs to go to the beach. I don't know. Maybe he just needs to be like around professionals outside of the Charlotte organization, but. If they can find a way to harness him, he has a longer wingspan than Wemby, which is insane. I mean, it's 2 inches, and that's enough. And if they can he's like just an athletic dude. And if they can get the most out of him, and he can just play that baseline role on offense and be there to do a little slip pass or get a putback here and there, that's all they need him to do. Grab boards, push the court. That's all. So if they can harness him and get his attitude right. Sky's the limit for the Lakers. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, that's a great front court piece, and when you look at he and Luka being able to build together, learn from LeBron in the twilight of his career, that's a pretty good situation. I think that they really just found their new young core within the last week, which is fucking crazy. I can't believe they just did a 180 like that. Only LA.
With the foundation of Bronny James Jr.
Right.
Well, what do you think about Dalton Connect getting traded too?
I mean, I thought that I thought that the Lakers needed shooting. I still do think that they need shooting, so it didn't make a lot of sense to send him out the door. But when I look at his skill set, I think that Dalton Connect is going to be a good NBA player. I don't think he's going to be a great NBA player. He's definitely going to be a guy that, he may get you 14, 15, 16 points a game. He may do it efficiently, but he's never going to be a guy that you're going to be like, all right, you go get us some game-winning buckets.
Sure.
I don't think he's ever going to be that guy. So I think LA, felt as if, your potential is limited. You're a trade asset. And I think that they kind of viewed him and Austin Reeves as, a similar skill set redundancy. It's like we're only going to keep one guy that's going to come off screens, get shots, and that's essentially what Austin Reeves does within that offense.
DEI can only go so far with white NBA players.
Absolutely.
But I'm actually kind of surprised that Dalton Connect got moved. I thought he was a solid pick coming out of the draft this year, and I thought he was going to actually make a little bit more waves. And I feel like they kind of bailed on him early. I think he still needed time to develop, and I think he would have been a great asset for the Lakers. But seems like they're going to be going a different direction now, and he's not a part of it. So, I hope he continues to play well and finds himself on a better team. But I do think they bailed on him just a little bit too early. Because he still has plenty of time. He's less than 50 games in his NBA career, he still got time. But that's the craziness of this business. And now after this trade deadline, the powers in the GMs, and I think the GMs are tired, or the organizations are just tired of players absolutely just bullying their way into trades. And I think this year was enough is enough. You guys signed a contract, and you're going to honor that contract. And if not, then we're going to move. And now GMs are not very scared to move some of these major pieces.
Yeah. I think they're gonna kind of look at this trade deadline in the future and be like, you know what? Let's roll the dice. They may be a little bit more readily down to trade a superstar moving forward because they saw it happen with Luka, they saw it happen with Anthony Davis, and they saw how it happened.
Right.
So I feel like that sent a shockwave, and we're seeing the result of it right now today on February 6th.
Yep. Who else surprised? One thing I'm a little surprised with is the Sixers didn't really do much. I thought the Sixers were going to do a little bit more than they did. All they did was trade for Reggie Jackson. Nothing too crazy, or traded Reggie Jackson for a second-round pick. So I thought
that sounds about right.
I thought they were going to do something a little bit bigger. I thought maybe try to move on from Paul George, or maybe even Embiid. Try to move something, because I just feel they're just stuck in the mud. But that's what you get when you're the Sixers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was saying on a previous episode, that's a organization that has consistently shot themselves in the foot, and they fail to grow every single point where there's potential growth. It feels like they take one step forward and two steps back. And it seems like this was a time where you could have taken a step forward, and they were just like, nah, we're just going to stay here and just stay in misery where we're at. And it's like, of course you would. Of course you would, because you're the Sixers.
Yeah, it's like, you saw all your rivals get better. Obviously, Boston's up here, right? Boston's way up here. But, the Bucks might have gotten a little less, but then you look at the Cavs, they got better. You look at the Heat, they have two guys that are solid role players that could end up being a little bit of a problem in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. And it's same thing with Chicago. Chicago and Philadelphia, I don't know who's running that organization, but they need to get fired today. And it's so weird to see those, I guess, prominent organizations, staples in the NBA, just not care about their product.
Right, like organizations that have won championships. It's like, dude, where's your sense of NBA history to, like, you're just wheeling out this team that it looks like dog shit. Like, I'm so thankful that the Spurs don't have that mentality. And even when we were a 20-win team, we still had aspirations and we still had goals.
Yeah.
and we saw where we were going, and yeah, I mean, of course we got lucky with Wembanyama, but at the same time, that mentality never left us in San Antonio.
Nope, nope. And it's going to get better. The future's very bright. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Things are getting foxy over here.
Things are getting a little foxy, and he is sly like a fox. That dude, I didn't realize how quick he was, and I'm so thankful. Let's talk about the game again.
Honestly, yeah, that is how excited we are. It's definitely something that I am still on cloud nine about. This is the best point guard we've had since prime Tony Parker. Whenever you look at it like that, like this is a guy that like I would put next to prime Tony Parker and say that this is a guy that can be just as productive as him. And so I think that's a big statement.
Oh, for sure. And I know that we do need to, at some point, we do need to separate old dad, father Spurs and like our new young hotness at some point. And I do like the Tony Parker comparison because for me, De'Aaron Fox is a better Tony Parker. I know that's blasphemy to say in San Antonio, but bear with me. He can score from 3 levels. Tony Parker could never do that. 3-point shots were not his thing. It took him a long time to develop that mid-range jumper too. De'Aaron Fox has that. And De'Aaron Fox can finish at the rim just like Tony Parker can. Here, the difference is his passing. His passing is a lot better than Tony Parker. And he's just a bigger dude. So when you look at it from just face value, I see the comparison for sure. And I do think that De'Aaron Fox is going to eventually win 56, 60 games in a season with Wembanyama if he ends up staying for the long haul. So I like the comparison. I don't think we need to go out and find the next Manu or the next Danny Green or blah, 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 blah. Like, let's move on. Let's get these guys their own names. Let's put their numbers in the Rafters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just you can't help but just kind of
help it. You can't help it.
Yeah, I mean, you
that's
you
what we know.
and it's like and it's not like we want these players to be the players of yesteryear. It's we want to kind of line up the production, see where it's coming from, and how it's going to manifest itself, and to see all these different pieces. It's like it's just a different puzzle. And the Spurs team of old, that was a completely different puzzle. So it's nice just seeing that puzzle.
The Spurs of yesteryear were all about fundamentals. Now we got skill, fundamentals, and flash. I mean, dude, like we got a guy in a dunk contest. Like,
well, hold up. We need to kind of reel in the fundamentals a little bit. I think we have a lot of raw athleticism. We got a lot of raw athleticism. We got a lot of skill. But man, some of the fundamentals, I mean, it was kind of what we were criticizing Coach Pop about. Like some of these things we're seeing out there, it's like, dude, a lot of sloppy turnovers, a lot of careless passing, a lot of tough shots, bad shot selections. It's like all of these are things that really need to work on, and those are kind of stem off of fundamentals.
But we got rid of Zach Collins, so we're good now.
Right. I mean, dude, if that's all it took to just kind of turn this corner, then fuck, I'm excited.
Yeah, it makes me more excited that the Hawks are losing. It makes me more excited for the future. I think this town is about to explode if we make the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having a little bit of extra excitement towards the playoffs, even though I mean, realistically, like I'm not seeing us having a deep playoff run, but at the same time, it would just be nice to get there.
It would be nice to get there and see what happens. I mean, like crazier
roll
things.
The dice.
Through crazier things have happened. What if we end up being like the Golden State Warriors when they beat the Mavs? What if we end up being the Grizzlies that beat the Spurs? I mean, it's not impossible when you have a superstar in Wembanyama who loves to win and is super hyper competitive, and you pair that with a guy, De'Aaron Fox, who wants to prove you shouldn't have gotten rid of me. I am here. I'm gonna do stuff, and you have even more motivation with CP3. I want him to be I want him to relapse so bad. I want him to relapse. I want him to go back to the finals. He's addicted.
Right.
Get him back there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I want him to steer clear from all rehab facilities and stay addicted to the fucking finals. Why haven't you been back? We're going to take you back.
So, and hopefully at some point Pop comes back this year, and if he does, great. If not, that's fine too. I mean, it would just be fun to see him coach this team and really kind of like get into some of these players, because I feel, as we talked about this with Mike Taylor, as he's gotten older, he's gotten kind of soft. So now he has veteran players that he doesn't have to be soft with, because they've been here. They know the deal. They've been yelled at before hundreds of times. So
yeah,
future is bright.
Future is bright. But you know what else is bright? Our ability to dunk.
Ooh.
Our ability to dunk. We can yam.
We can yam pretty
Who
hard.
who are you thinking about potentially yamming on this week?
I don't know who the person is who started this whole pick swap, unprotected, future considerations, yada, yada, yada. This turns into 2, this turns into 1. Whoever came up with that shit needs to be dunked on, because I get so confused on what picks need to happen, what number do they need to get to, how many losses. Like, dude, just trade the fucking pick. Like, just trade it. Just trade the pick. I don't need to know, like, oh, well, if it finishes outside top 18, then it turns into 5 future second-round picks. And you're like, when does this trade end? Like, I mean, I know the Spurs have benefited from those types of trades, but I get so confused. I'm sure all the NBA fans do too. And everyone's like, I got to get a pen and pad in order to figure out when my team's going to have a first-round, second-round pick. Like, it's so mind-boggling, and I don't know who started it, who did it, who agreed to it for that matter, but I absolutely hate it, and we keep seeing it time in and time out, this trade deadline, and protected, unprotected, pick swap, whatever. Who knows, man. So I'm gonna dunk on whoever started that whole trend.
Okay, honestly, that really does make sense. Yeah, there's a lot of really confusing jargon and language when you look at some of these contracts and some of these deals. It almost feels like you need to be a lawyer to be able to decipher how some of these things work. But at the same time, I think you hit the nail on the head. We are an organization that's smart enough to benefit from some of these types of deals. So I'm not mad at them, even though it can be confusing for a lot of NBA fans.
Like,
yes.
if we're here 5 years from now going, wait, who do we trade in 2024 and 25 to get that? And then we gotta, okay, hold on, and then see what did they do? Okay, here we go. Now we gotta figure out where the Hawks landed and Minnesota did. Fuck you. I'm sorry. It's a lot. But anyway, that's my dunk. Berto, who you dunking on?
I'm gonna dunk on Nikon cameras. Yeah, I'm gonna dunk on Nikon digital cameras. They've been frustrating me a lot lately. Like I do a lot of photography stuff and do a lot of photography gigs and shooting a lot with the Nikon D610, and man, the autofocus on that thing is pretty ass. And I'm not gonna lie, I've used some Nikons that I enjoy, like the D750 is solid, the D850 is pretty solid as well. The Nikon Z series is pretty good for video. But man, so many of the Nikon cameras I use, they feel really, really just poorly designed. The user interface sucks. A lot of the autofocus, like I was saying, isn't really that good unless it's the models I said earlier. But that's like maybe 10% of their camera line. And so I'm having to use these on some jobs, and man, this thing is terrible, but it's the camera that they require for their headshots and for their stuff like that. So it's like, and so it ends up just being some bullshit I'm having to deal with. And so yeah, man, it's a fucking shitty camera, and there's about a dozen camera brands I would prefer over Nikon. So fucking Nikon, you got dunked on.
Yeah, and those things ain't cheap, man. So like you're
No,
paying top dollar for a camera that you're having issues with, and it's not auto focusing. Like, I don't know. I thought we got rid of cameras and went digital because of that reason. So
right.
that's
Yeah.
insane.
Right, having trouble communicating with my lights and shit. It's like, dude, what the hell? Like we're like this isn't an old camera. Like what are we doing here?
I hope we have a photographer listening right now that's just like, yeah, no, Rob, you dunk on that with my phone. Yeah. And like half or like the other half is like, oh, what the fuck is a Nikon camera?
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be a Sony rep, and they're gonna be like, yeah, Sony.
And they're like, we need to sponsor this podcast.
Right. Hey, I'm all for it. We'll switch these mics to Sony tomorrow.
Absolutely.
If they want to sponsor it.
Yeah. Oh no, we are for sale. It's right there, for sale.
Yeah.
But we got some exciting stuff coming up. I'm excited for the future of not only the Spurs but also this podcast. We're gonna have James back here pretty soon. So, Rob, I think that was a pretty solid episode. I know that we got to get to some house cleaning stuff, but is there anything else you want to drop?
Honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's been a great episode. The only thing I want to do is just thank everyone for listening. I appreciate you for being here. We would not be able to have as much fun doing this if you were not involved. So the fact that you're here listening the way you are, we absolutely appreciate it. Whether you're here from YouTube, Apple Podcast, whether it's a clip on Instagram, it's a clip on TikTok, whether you're one of our Chinese listeners from Red Note, it literally does not matter. We appreciate every single view, every single comment, like, share, subscription. We appreciate all of it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Korean love right there. I learned that.
Yeah,
I learned that.
Those little hearts.
Little hearts, yeah. Shout out to LG for that. Thanks. All right, man.
Yeah.
How do we end it?
We end it the same way we always do, and that's with a
Go
Spurs,
go. What did the fox say? Go Spurs, go. Go Spurs, go.